السلام عليكم. الحمد لله الذي أدامنا وسكن وجعلنا من المسلمين. الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهده له فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum. What's up, yo? How y'all doing? Today I want to kind of discuss, recent, everybody knows about what happened in Buffalo, New York, about the 10 people that were wounded and was killed, and the number wounded, and that it was considered to be a racist attack, and the thought process is that this guy he got this from, he kind of followed in the footsteps of Rudolph. And as I said before, primarily, in Islam, it says the very first racist was the devil. The very first racist was the shaitan. Now, Islamic belief is that shaitan was from a different species, a species of what was called a jinn. Many of the Christian views is that he was like, they don't say he was an angel, they say he was like an angel of light. He was like it. The word like is the operative word, because they do never say that he was an angel, but they say he was like an angel of light and he fell from the heavens. And Islam believes as well that he was in the heavens, but that we specify exactly what he was, and he was a jinn. So being that this was the case, this situation, to explain the three premises of what the issue was that the shaitan said that when Allah says to the angels, he said, "Itqulna lil malaika asjudu li Adam." So when he said to the angels to bow down to Adam, all of them bowed down except for the shaitan. Now this word sajid don't necessarily mean that they bowed down, but that they gave Adam his respect, because Allah said he created the children of Adam. He honored them, so he honored Adam. And the first thing is that the shaitan didn't want to honor Adam. He didn't want to give him that type of respect. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the reason was, it wasn't because of anything that Adam did, because Adam was just created. It wasn't anything that Adam said, because Adam was just created. It was simply because the shaitan said, "Ana khayra minhu." He said, "I am better than him. Khalaqtani min an-nar." You created me. I was created from fire. Wa khalaqtuhu min tin. And that you created Adam from dirt. And so simply because of the differences of the creation, that the shaitan, the second thing is that the shaitan hated Adam. And he hated, first of all, the honor that Allah had given Adam, and that he wanted the angels and everything to respect Adam and the children of Adam. And the second thing was that, first and foremost, is that he said, "Yo, I'm different. I'm created from fire. Adam created from dirt. I'm never going to respect him." And then he went a step further. He said, "I'm going to be Aduwwun Mubin. I'm going to be an open enemy to Adam and his progeny and the human beings. I'm going to be an open enemy to them. And what I will do, Allah, to show you that Adam and his children is not worthy of respect, of your honor, is that I'm going to mislead them in every form and fashion I can. I'm going to mislead them in the front of them, in the back of them, above them, to their right, to their left, with their aspirations, with their goals, with their past. I'm going to mislead them. I'm going to totally do it. I'm going to make everything in their life crooked. Whatever they try to do, I'm going to make it wrong." And so Allah, he listened to this, and he says, "Ila ibadahul mukhlisin." He said, "You will get everybody except for those who do things sincerely for me." How does all this connect with what happened in Buffalo? Well, how it connects with what happened in Buffalo is the mere fact that they said that this man went in there and killed 10 African American people simply because they're black, for no other reason, and he's white. And so he went to a grocery store and just shot up everybody simply because they were black. And, the history of this country, we have to be honest about it. Racism will never end in this country. There's too much, as they say, too much water under the bridge. The history is too diluted. The perspectives of individuals who want to honor slavery, who want to honor, and you have to understand that all of these mindsets that occurred after slavery was in order to convince themselves that they were doing right, by saying that we was only 3/5 of human beings, that we were not human, that we were animals, that we were this and that. Was only to assuage the consciousness of the people who had slaves, so that they didn't look at us as being human beings, because if they had have looked at us in that particular mindset, then in fact what would have happened is that their conscience would have got the best of them. They would have had to simply on a moral basis let us go. But it was much more easier to say that we were not worthy and that it was okay to keep us in chattel slavery because of the fact that we were not human. And unfortunately for young minds, people who are easily influenced by information that may be altered or may be changed, because even today you have people still fighting the Civil War. You have the sons of the Confederate, you have the daughters of the Confederate, you have all these people that are still fighting and holding on to the Civil War. And it's very difficult not to fight, because how do you separate the negative from the good? You can, if you focus just on the good part, if you just focus on the fact of a family of honor and respect. But it's a slippery slope, because it's very difficult to hold on to that and not buy into the fact, especially if your descendants were slave owners. It's a very slippery slope. But the reality is that, as somebody said, it was a very evil behavior. This thing is, we like to have Phil's and McCoys as African Americans, European Americans. There's so much history of hatred and animosity that it's difficult for a lot of people to let that go. But the reality is that we have to confront the reality that it happened, and we have to, the main thing is to try to get by it. But it's hard to get by it when people are in their homes or there's on the internet propaganda that constantly perpetuates hatred and perpetuates aggression towards other groups. And when you have young minds who are easily persuaded, easily influenced to do these things, we have to be, those particular areas need to be dealt with as well. Because once you're flaming the fire of hatred in order to get people to do things, especially young people, we have to be able to see that, because they're easily to be manipulated, they easily be influenced in those aspects. So that is, it was a travesty what's happened, it was traumatic what happened, but that type of action is definitely evil. And it only comes from one essence, one essence that goes all the way back to the beginning, and from hatred, that perspective, I wish the families the greatest sympathy and love and recovery from it. And I hope that in America that we can, at some point in fashion, be able to just be honest with the whole issue and be like, yo, slavery wasn't a good thing. It was economically sound, but human beings are human beings. And it's not about who gets the job. It's not about I'm taking anything or somebody else is taking anything. There's enough jobs, I think, for all human beings. But at the same token, somebody wants to always have the upper hand. And the best way to try to keep that upper hand is to constantly have propaganda that perpetuates fear and anger. So you have misplaced anger and misdirected aggression. And a lot of times, especially with younger people, they get angry and they don't know how to express it. So attempting to do so. But I just want to say, to the families and to all, we have to get rid of this, the asabiya, the tribalism, the racism, the classism, to the point that You hate a particular group because of their economical situation or their lack of economical situation or the homeless, or that you hate another group of people simply because they're Asian, or that they are European, or that they are Indian, or that they are South American, you know, and and we see it all the time. We see it in politics now. I'm very against what's happening in Ukraine. I'm very much against that as a Muslim. Because Allah doesn't like oppression in any group of people. He doesn't like any group of people to be oppressed. So I'm very much against that. But at the same token, it's easy to open the doors of America for Ukrainians to come in and get away from the war. But it's very difficult to let South Americans and Central Americans in, who are primarily not as not as covered as much, but are primarily going through some of the same scenarios in Central America, South America, when it comes to gangs and dictators and people killing them and raping them and doing all kind of different things. It's difficult to let them in because they're Hispanic. But it's okay to let the Ukrainians because they're European. I mean, the reality is there. Because as I talked about the other day about the thing with abortion and the augmentation of numbers, you have to think about the big picture, the bigger picture of numbers. Why stop one group? Why let one group in? At the same token, all I'm saying is fair is fair. I'm not saying don't let nobody in. I'm saying let them in. But I'm saying it's not fair for the people that's going through the same thing simply because, hey, ethnicity. Reality is reality. Fair is fair. Also, it was brought up to me about the Will Smith situation, and my take on that is that, Prophet Muhammad, he said that the blood, that the wealth, and the honor of a person are all sacred. Their honor is sacred. So, it's honorable for a man to defend his wife. It's honorable for a man to defend his children. It's honorable for a person to defend his extended family. It's honorable. That's an honorable behavior. And there was nothing wrong with what Will Smith did. But as a Muslim, I would tell you what Imam Jafar Sadiq said, one of the great-great-great-grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad. He said, if you want to humiliate a person, then you chastise them in public. You get on them in public, in front of a bunch of people. But if you want to honor a person, then you chastise them in secret. You get them to the side by themselves and you let them know what they did that was incorrect. You don't do it in front of people. You don't take what's in the house outside of the house into the public. You don't tell the public about what's going on in the house. You don't dishonor the people. You keep your chastisement to the person. If you want to honor them, you keep it secret. You do it in between you and them. Now, what Will Smith did was in public. First of all, as Muslim, we don't believe in comedy that there's a joke made at the expense of another person. We don't believe in that type of comedy. We don't believe in the comedy that I tell a joke, but my joke is based upon demoralizing or dehumanizing or belittling another individual in the audience. Now, I have to be honest, I grew up as African American, and so, being a part of this culture, I've partaken in that, and therefore, I've had my laughs off of it as well. But I would say that when we know better, we do better, and so it is humiliating to joke at someone's expense and make other people laugh at that person's expense. And as Muslims, we don't do that. That is forbidden for us. So we don't, I understand Mr. Smith's his angst about that, and I understand because in Islam we don't do that. That's forbidden. So You can't look at one issue and not look at both issues. As Muslims, we have to look at the entire picture. The entire picture is not correct. If you want to tell a joke, then make sure the joke is an innocent joke that everybody can laugh at, but it's not a joke that is based upon dehumanizing or putting somebody else down in order to get people to laugh. That right there is not funny, and it is the damage that may be done to the individual that's being used as the pun, as the object of the joke. You don't know what you have done to their psyche or to their emotions in order to get the people to laugh at what you said. You don't know the harm that you may have caused. So as Muslims, we don't get into that. We're totally against that. And there are Islamic comedians, and I will even advise them, keep your jokes clean. Don't utilize the joke, perspective on a personal person. If you want to do it, then inshallah, I would think that the best way, and I'm sure somebody else could, critique me on this, is that the best way would be to do so in a general view, but not in the individual view where you're picking out one person out of an audience or whatever the case is. And if you just want to use a general view, but even then somebody's going to get offended, and but that would be better than individual situations, and even that would be makruh, would be undesirable. But in Islam they say, too much laughter hardens the heart. Too much laughter, you forget about the serious things in life, and everything becomes a joke. Everything is not a joke, and as I said before, I always have to kind of look at nursery rhymes and children's stories, because it was an adult who wrote a children's story for the morality of it. And one of the things, and I will say this, in Pinocchio, it said that Pinocchio went to the land of play. And while Pinocchio was in the land of play, he turned into a jackass. He began to grow a tail. He began to grow ears, that looked like a donkey. He began to grow a donkey's tail. And all of this is symbolic to the fact that after a while, if this is all you do, then that's what you will become, a jackass. So at the end of the day, I just want to say, man, I'm traumatized by the what is continuing happening, what happened in Buffalo, New York, with the Tim was killed, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal this particular nation, this country, from the hatred. And again, it's like the Hatfield Accords. It's like different countries, the Japanese and the Chinese, the Arabs and the Persians. There's so much history in this country between whites and blacks when it comes to the bloodshed and the dislike, that I don't think it will ever stop. But we can definitely neutralize it. We can definitely minimize it. The biggest place it starts is in the home. Not telling your children, not telling the descendants to hate another particular group simply because they're that. Treat people as people treat you, but always be aware, treat people with the greatest respect and the greatest dignity, on individual basis. Do not collectively look at people and think automatically that they're all bad. No, they're not all bad. All white people are not bad. All black people are not good. You know what I mean? All black people are not bad either. And all white people ain't good. So at the end of the day, and we're talking about Hispanic people, or the Native American, the Indian, the indigenous people, listen, the hatred, the marginalization, all of that stuff is un-Islamic. It's un-Islamic. The Arab ain't no better than the Indian. The Indian ain't no better than the Pakistani. The Pakistani ain't no better than Hispanic. Hispanic ain't no better than the black, the African American, or the African, or the European. The African American, are no better than the rest of them. At the end of the day, we have one constant, the constant that we're human beings. And in being human beings, Allah says in the Quran, وَتَقُولَ, that the most honored amongst us are those who fear Allah. The most akramakum, the most honored of us, the more the most honored in his sight is the one who are most pious. Not because you were born of a certain ethnicity, not because you got a bunch of money, because the Prophet said, "Qala qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yanduru ila amwalikum waswarikum." So Allah doesn't look at how much money you got. He don't care. He don't look at how handsome you are, or how pretty you are, or how fine you are. وَلَكِنَ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَمَالَكُمْ وَقُلُوبِكُمْ. But he says that Allah looks at our actions and at our heart. He looks at what's in the heart. If the heart is good, then you're good. If the actions are good, then you're good. If you got a bunch of money and you're just a ratchet person, you're just a ratchet person. If you're white and you're ratchet and you're slime ball, you're slime ball. If you're black and you're ratchet and you're slime ball. If you are Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Pakistani, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you treat the next human being and what you do for them. At the end of the day, that's all I got to say, man, is that for the most part, try to love each other. Try to forgive each other. But be aware when you go out your house, because everybody ain't on that level. Be aware when you go out and you see people acting crazy or making funny moves. Always be on point. But at the same token, because the shaitan said, other one mubin, he said he's an open enemy. And you got nationalists. That's their thing. They get their pride and their self-esteem from being racist, which is perverted in a sense. How do you get self-esteem from being negative? By saying, and because you say that you're the best doesn't make you the best. Whether you're African American, whether you're black, or you're white, whether you're Chinese, whether you're Japanese, what you call me Kwai Lu, you call me Gaijin, and I understand the Japanese and Chinese, you call me Kwai Lu, you call me Gaijin, which means barbarians. I mean, I don't get into none of that. I understand that the so-called superiority of why people feel that way, to puff themselves up, to have good self-esteem. But as Imam Suyuti said, there's no good self-esteem in a person who says that he's better than another person. That's not what Islam is about. We never are better. We're better if our behavior is better. We're better if our actions are better. We're not better simply because we were born this way. Because none of us, white person, black person, Chinese person, when Allah put your soul in your body, you had no choice on what you came out to be. Now, this is for humanity. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. You had no choice. When your soul was put in your body, when your intellect, when your psyche was ignited, when your brain and the synapses fired and they sparked and you began to think, that electrical current, however you want to put it, if you don't believe in the soul, that electrical current that was put in this physical meat, this body of meat, blood, bones, nerve endings, you had no choice. You did not say, I want to be white. You did not say, I want to be Chinese. You did not say, I want to be African American. You had no choice. The Creator put you where He wanted you to be so that you would be the best of your particular ethnicity, to try to do the best you could for the rest of humanity, for your people and for humanity, for your people specifically, for your people because they are your people, but because you're a part of humanity, you have to clean up the house before you can clean up the neighborhood. Before you can clean up the yard, you have to clean up the house. You clean up the house, then you clean the yard. Once you clean your yard, then you clean the neighborhood next door and go on down the block. That's why Allah put our souls in our bodies to do that. All that other crazy stuff, that foolishness, exactly what it is. With that being said, man, my heart is hurting. It is killing me. Too many people are dying for foolishness because of ignorance, jahiliyyah. Ain't nobody better than nobody else. And I understand people want to hold on to power, or the perception of power. And I understand people want to hold on to that particular view. But one thing about life, it's fluid and it changes. It changes. One day none of us may be here. And that's a fact. Because when the sun goes supernova, or whenever the time for it to blow and diminish and become a black hole, ain't nobody going to be here. I don't know if that's 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years or 100 years. But there's a fact. No galaxy lasts forever. Remember that. That being said, Assalamu alaikum. Love all y'all.